The world tilted, and Elara fell into darkness with the scent of pine and thunderstorms wrapped around her like a promise. When consciousness returned, it came in fragments, golden eyes, heat radiating through her body, strong arms cradling her against a chest that rumbled with barely contained power. Her wolf, usually so quiet and subdued, whimpered deep in her soul, not in fear, but in recognition. Then darkness claimed her again. The morning had started like every other miserable day in the Crescent Moon pack house. Elara had woken to her stepfather Marcus bellowing her name, his heavy footsteps thundering up the stairs. "Get up, you worthless Omega. Today's the mating ceremony, and you'll attend whether you like it or not." She'd pulled herself from bed, despite the fever that had been plaguing her all week. The dizziness came in waves now, along with a strange restlessness in her wolf. Something was wrong, had been wrong for days, but she couldn't pinpoint what. "Please," she'd managed to say, when Marcus shoved the formal dress at her. "I'm not feeling well. Can't I stay home?" His hand had connected with her cheek before she'd finished speaking. "You'll go. Maybe some alpha will take pity on you and claim you as a servant. At least then you'd be useful." Her stepsister Vivian had laughed from the doorway, perfect and cruel in her blue silk gown. "Don't worry, Elara. No one will even notice you're there." But Vivian had been wrong. The ceremony grounds were packed with wolves from neighboring territories. Elara stood at the back of the crowd, trying to remain invisible as visiting alphas and their eligible pack members mingled. The event was supposed to facilitate mate bonds, to strengthen alliances between packs. For Elara, it was just another reminder of her place at the bottom. Her fever spiked suddenly, sweat beading on her forehead despite the cool evening air. Her wolf surged against her skin, agitated and yearning. "He's close," her wolf whispered. "Our mate is close." Elara's heart stuttered. That was impossible. She was nobody, an orphaned Omega who'd been a burden to her step-family since her mother died 5 years ago. Mates were for the strong, the valued, not for girls who could barely afford to eat. "Move," Vivian hissed, shoving Elara forward into the thicker part of the crowd. "You're blocking my view of the visiting alphas." Elara stumbled, catching herself against a stone pillar. The world swam, colors bleeding together. She needed to sit down. Needed to. The scent hit her like a physical blow. Pine and thunderstorms, wild and untamed and utterly overwhelming. It bypassed her consciousness and went straight to her soul, to the very core of her being. The mate bond didn't just snap into place. It crashed through her with the force of a tidal wave. Her wolf howled in triumph and terror. Elara's legs gave out. The ground rushed up to meet her, but she never hit it. Strong arms caught her, pulling her against a solid chest. Heat enveloped her, so different from her fever. This was safety, comfort, home. A low growl rumbled through whoever held her, protective and possessive. She managed to open her eyes, just for a moment. Golden eyes stared down at her, blazing with an intensity that made her breath catch. The face they belonged to was carved from stone and shadow, all sharp angles and masculine beauty. Dark hair fell across his forehead, and power radiated from him in waves that made her Omega Wolf want to bare her throat in submission. But there was something else in those eyes, something that looked like wonder. "Mine," he whispered, so softly she almost missed it. Then darkness swallowed her whole. White ceiling, antiseptic smell, the steady beep of a heart monitor. Elara groaned, consciousness returning slowly. Her body felt heavy, disconnected, but her wolf was awake and pacing, whining about something, Someone who wasn't there. Easy now, an elderly woman's voice, kind but firm. Don't try to sit up yet. Ilara turned her head to find Dr. Miriam, the pack's healer, adjusting an IV line attached to her arm. What happened? Her throat was raw, voice barely a whisper. You collapsed at the ceremony. Someone brought you here unconscious. Miriam's weathered face creased with concern. Ilara, I need you to listen carefully. I ran tests while you were out. You've been poisoned. The words didn't make sense at first. Poisoned? Wolfsbane? Small doses over an extended period. Months, probably. It's been weakening your wolf, making you ill. Miriam's expression hardened. Someone's been doing this deliberately. Horror crawled up Ilara's spine. Wolfsbane was deadly to their kind. Prolonged exposure could kill a wolf slowly, painfully. Who would? Marcus. Vivian. The step-family who saw her as nothing but a burden. The mate bond, Ilara whispered suddenly, remembering. I felt it. Someone caught me. Where? No one knows who brought you in, Miriam interrupted gently. You were left at the infirmary door. By the time I opened it, whoever carried you was gone. Her wolf keened at the loss. The bond was there, thrumming under her skin, but muted now. Distant, like trying to hear a melody through thick walls. I need to find him, Ilara said, pushing herself up despite Miriam's protests. You need to rest, and you need to be careful. The doctor's tone turned grave. Someone wants you dead, child. Until we figure out who, you're not safe. Before Ilara could respond, raised voices echoed from outside the infirmary. The door burst open, and her stepfather stormed in with Vivian close behind. What's this nonsense about poison? Marcus demanded. The girl's always been sickly, weak bloodline. Ilara met his eyes and saw nothing but irritation. No concern, no guilt. But was it murder, or just indifference? She needs to come home, Vivian added, though her gaze kept darting to the window, toward the ceremony grounds. People are talking. It's embarrassing. She's staying here, Miriam said firmly. Doctor's orders. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but a commotion outside made everyone freeze. Excited voices, the words spreading through the pack. Like wildfire, the Alpha King. He's still here. He's extending his stay. Ilara's heart jumped. She hadn't even known Demon Blackthorn was attending. The Alpha King rarely left his territory in the northern mountains, and when he did, it was never without reason. His pack was the largest and most powerful in the region. Some said he was the strongest alpha in generations. Apparently he caught the scent of something interesting. Someone was saying in the hallway. Wouldn't say what, though. Just announced he'd be staying at the Crescent Moon Pack House for the next few days. Vivian's face lit up with predatory excitement. The Alpha King, here. She turned to Marcus. We need to go. This is our chance to make an impression. They left without another glance at Ilara, their footsteps fading down the corridor. Miriam shook her head. Get some rest. I'll have food sent up. When she was alone, Ilara pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the ghost of the bond pulling at her. Her mate was out there somewhere. She'd felt his arms around her, seen those golden eyes, heard that single word. Mine. But who was he? And why had he vanished? Her wolf stirred restlessly, caught between longing and fear. The mate bond was supposed to be a blessing, but right now it felt like another complication in a life already falling apart. Someone had been poisoning her for months. Her mate had disappeared without a word, and the Alpha King himself had chosen this moment to extend his stay. Ilara closed her eyes, exhaustion pulling at her despite her racing thoughts. She didn't know it yet, but her life had just changed forever. The man with golden eyes wasn't just her mate. He was Demon Blackthorn, and he wasn't about to let his poisoned Omega out of his sight again. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. The pack house had become Ilara's prison, dressed up as sanctuary. For your own protection, Marcus had declared 3 days after the ceremony, his expression making it clear that her protection was the last thing on his mind. Until we determine who poisoned you, if anyone actually did, you'll stay within the pack house grounds. No wandering, no drawing more attention to yourself. What he meant was, don't embarrass us further. Don't let anyone see how broken you are. So Ilara had been confined to the sprawling estate that served as the Crescent Moon Pack's headquarters, her world shrunk to stone walls and careful footsteps. Dr. Miriam visited daily to check her recovery, bringing herbs to flush the wolfsbane from her system. The physical weakness was fading, slowly, but her wolf remained restless, pacing endlessly beneath her skin, because that scent kept finding her. Pine and thunderstorms, wild and intoxicating. It would drift through an open window while she sat in her small room, or linger in a hallway she walked through. Once, she'd caught it so strongly in the gardens that she'd spun around, certain someone was watching her. But no one was ever there. Her mate was close. She could feel it in the bond that hummed constantly under her skin, a golden thread pulling at her heart. But why wouldn't he show himself? Why had he vanished after catching her at the ceremony? The questions consumed her, made worse by the fact that no one would tell her anything about who'd brought her to the infirmary that night. On the 4th morning of her confinement, everything changed. Ilara was in the kitchens, her new assigned duty, because Marcus believed in keeping Omegas in their place, when the head cook, Betty, burst through the door with flushed cheeks and gleaming eyes. "He's here," she announced to the kitchen staff. "The new warrior trainer the Alpha King sent. They say he's the best in the northern mountains." Ilara's hands stilled in the bread dough she was kneading. The Alpha King. That name had been on everyone's lips since the ceremony, whispered with reverence and speculation. Demon Blackthorn had extended his stay at the pack house itself, occupying the entire east wing with his small entourage. She'd caught glimpses of his guards, massive warriors who moved like predators, but never the Alpha King himself. "What's his name?" one of the younger Omegas asked breathlessly. "Damon," Betty said, and something in Ilara's chest tightened. "No last name given, but who cares? You should see him, girls. Tall, dark, and dangerous doesn't even begin to cover it." The kitchen erupted in excited chatter, but Ilara barely heard it over the sudden pounding of her heart. Her wolf surged forward, alert and yearning. "Go," her wolf whispered. "Find him." "Ilara," Betty's sharp voice cut through her thoughts. "Stop daydreaming. The warriors will be training in the main courtyard all morning. They'll need water and refreshments. You'll assist." Of course she would. Omegas served. That was their purpose, according to people like Marcus. But as Ilara gathered supplies and headed toward the courtyard, her pulse raced with something that had nothing to do with subservience, and everything to do with the scent that suddenly wrapped around her like a caress. Pine and thunderstorms. He was here. The training courtyard was packed with pack warriors, all gathered to watch the newcomer put them through their paces. Ilara hung back near the weapons rack, trying to remain invisible as she always did. Then she saw him, and her world tilted. He stood in the center of the yard, radiating controlled power in simple training clothes that did nothing to hide the lethal grace of his body. Tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair that caught the morning sun and skin that spoke of hours spent in the wild, he moved like violence contained, every gesture precise and devastating. But it was his eyes that made Ilara's breath catch. Golden, burning with an intensity that she'd seen once before, in a fragmented memory of strong arms and a whispered word. Mine. Her water pitcher slipped from nerveless fingers, hitting the ground with a loud crack. Every head turned toward her. Heat flooded her cheeks as warriors smirked and muttered, the weak Omega making a mess. Nothing new, but Damon's gaze found hers across the courtyard, and the world fell away. Recognition blazed in those golden eyes. Hunger, possessiveness, something that made her wolf howl and press against her skin, desperate to get closer. Clean that up, one of the senior warriors barked at her. She dropped to her knees, hands shaking as she gathered the broken pieces. Humiliation burned through her, made worse by the weight of Damon's stare. She could feel it like a physical touch, raising goosebumps along her arms. Then boots appeared in her line of vision. Expensive leather, custom made. She didn't need to look up to know who they belonged to. Careful, a deep voice said, smooth as aged whiskey, and just as intoxicating. You're bleeding. She was. A shard of pottery had sliced her palm, crimson welling up against her skin. Before she could react, strong hands, familiar hands, gently took hers, examining the cut with a frown that made him look almost angry. The bond roared to life between them, so powerful it made her gasp. The Damon's jaw clenched, his thumb brushing her wrist where her pulse hammered wildly. You should be more careful, little wolf. The endearment made her shiver. She finally found her voice, though it came out barely above a whisper. I'm fine. No, he said softly, dangerously. You're not. Before she could process what he meant, he released her hand and stood, addressing the watching warriors with commanding authority. Take a break. 15 minutes. They obeyed instantly, dispersing without question. The kind of obedience that spoke to real power, not just borrowed authority. Ilara scrambled to her feet, hyper-aware that they were suddenly alone in the courtyard. Well, not completely alone. She could see pack members watching from windows, including Vivian's sharp gaze from the second floor. Thank you, she managed. You didn't have to. What's your name? He interrupted, stepping closer. Too close. Close enough that his scent wrapped around her and made her knees weak. Ilara. It came out breathless. Ilara Thorne. Something flickered in his expression. Thorne. Any relation to Marcus Thorne? The way he said her stepfather's name made it clear he knew exactly who Marcus was. He's my stepfather. Damon's eyes darkened. I see. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear. The casual intimacy of it made her heart stutter. The Omega who collapsed at the ceremony. I've been wondering about you. You have? She shouldn't lean into his touch, but her body had other ideas. His hand lingered against her cheek, thumb brushing her skin with devastating gentleness. You're interesting, Ilara Thorne, and I find myself very interested in interesting things. Her wolf preened at the attention, but confusion warred with desire in Ilara's mind. This warrior, Damon, felt like her mate. Every instinct screamed it, but something was wrong with the picture. A warrior, even an elite one from the northern mountains, wouldn't have this level of authority. wouldn't make seasoned fighters obey without question, unless he wasn't just a warrior. "Who are you?" she whispered. Golden eyes gleamed with something that might have been approval. "Exactly who I said I am, a warrior, a trainer, someone who's very interested in keeping you safe." "Why?" "Because," he murmured, leaning close enough that his breath ghosted across her ear, "I don't like it when people poison what's mine." The possessiveness in his voice sent heat spiraling through her body. But before she could respond, voices approached, warriors returning from their break. Damon stepped back smoothly, his expression shifting to professional neutrality so quickly she almost questioned whether the moment had happened at all. "Make sure someone tends that cut properly," he said, loud enough for others to hear. Then quieter, "I'll see you again soon, little wolf." It was a promise and a warning all at once. Over the next 2 days, soon became constantly. Damon seemed to be everywhere Elara went. In the kitchens when she was preparing meals, asking for water with eyes that said he was thirsty for something else entirely. In the library when she sought refuge among the books, suddenly needing to research training techniques. In the gardens where she walked in the evenings, materializing from the shadows like he'd been waiting for her. Every interaction crackled with barely restrained tension. He'd brush past her in narrow hallways, his hand briefly touching her lower back. He'd watch her during meals with an intensity that made her squirm. He'd find excuses to be near her, always close enough that his scent drove her wolf wild, but never crossing the line into something she could call inappropriate. It was torture, delicious, maddening torture, and she wasn't the only one affected. She'd catch him staring at her with such raw hunger that it made her breath catch. His hands would clench into fists when other males got too close. Once, she'd seen his eyes flash with his wolf when a young warrior had laughed at something she said. The possessive growl that rumbled through his chest, making everyone nearby freeze. But he never claimed her, never acknowledged the bond she could feel burning between them. Why? The answer came in pieces, discovered through eavesdropping and observation. First, she found more evidence of her poisoning. Going through the kitchens late one night, unable to sleep, she'd discovered her stepmother Helena slipping a vial of something into a pot, labeled with Elara's name, wolfsbane extract, disguised as a nutritional supplement for her recovery. They weren't just keeping her weak. They were still actively poisoning her. The betrayal had sent her stumbling back to her room, where she'd vomited up everything in her stomach and cried silent tears of rage and hurt. Her own family wanted her dead, or at least compliant, broken enough that she'd never challenge them, never be anything but the pathetic Omega they needed her to be. Second, she'd overheard a conversation between high-ranking pack members that made her blood run cold. She'd been cleaning near the Alpha's study, Marcus's domain, when voices drifted through the partially open door. "The Alpha King is searching for someone," one of the Betas was saying. "A female with a rare silver wolf bloodline. There's some prophecy about it, apparently. A mate marked by the moon goddess herself." Ridiculous superstition, Marcus had scoffed. Maybe. But Demon Blackthorn believes it. He caught her scent at the ceremony, apparently. That's why he's staying. He's trying to find her. Elara's heart had stopped. Silver wolf bloodline. Her mother had been a silver wolf, rare and powerful. Elara had inherited the coloring, though her Omega status made the trait meaningless. Just another thing that made her different, unwanted. But if the Alpha King was searching for a prophesied mate with that bloodline, no, it couldn't be her. She was nobody, an Omega, weak and broken and poisoned. except Damon's eyes on her said otherwise. The bond between them said otherwise. Was he the Alpha King in disguise? The timing, the authority, the way everyone subtly deferred to him despite his supposed lower rank. It all fit. But why hide his identity? Why not just claim her if she was supposedly his prophesied mate? Unless he wasn't sure. Unless he was testing her somehow. The uncertainty was killing her. Everything came to a head on the third evening. Ilara was in the gardens again, seeking peace she couldn't find. The mate bond pulled at her constantly now, made worse by Damon's proximity. Her wolf was becoming harder to control, desperate to complete the bond, to claim and be claimed. She didn't hear him approach, but she felt him, always felt him. "You're troubled," Damon said from behind her. She didn't turn around. "I'm tired. Of? Lies. Games. Being treated like I'm nothing." The words escaped before she could stop them, raw and honest. Silence. Then his hands were on her shoulders, turning her gently to face him. In the moonlight, his golden eyes seemed to glow. "You are not nothing," he said fiercely. "Never think that." "Then what am I?" She met his gaze, refusing to back down despite her Omega instincts screaming at her to submit. "Tell me the truth. Who are you really? Why do I feel this?" She gestured helplessly between them. "With you?" His jaw clenched, conflict clear in his expression. "Ilara." A male voice interrupted. "There you are. Been looking everywhere for you." Jake, one of the pack warriors. Young and cocky, he'd been sniffing around Ilara ever since she'd started working in the kitchens. She'd made it clear she wasn't interested, but he didn't seem to care. He reached for her arm, fingers closing around her wrist. "Come on, Omega. Keep me company for a while." The world exploded. 1 second, Jake was touching her. The next, he was on the ground, Damon looming over him with barely contained violence. The air itself seemed to vibrate with power, alpha power, undeniable and overwhelming. Damon's eyes were pure gold now, his wolf so close to the surface that his canines had lengthened. When he spoke, his voice was layered with command that made every wolf in range freeze. "Touch her again," he growled, "and I'll rip your throat out." Jake scrambled backward, terror written across his face. He wasn't stupid enough to challenge whatever Damon was, but the damage was done. Windows had opened throughout the pack house, drawn by the surge of alpha power. Pack members stared and whispered, and there, on the second floor, Helena's face appeared, her expression calculating and cruel. Damon seemed to realize what he'd done. He straightened slowly, forcing his wolf back with visible effort. When he looked at Ilara, his eyes held apology and frustration and hunger all at once. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "We need to talk, really talk." But before she could respond, Helena's voice rang out across the gardens. "Ilara, inside, now." It wasn't a request. Ilara's stomach dropped. She looked at Damon, at the concern in his eyes, but she had no choice. Helena could make her life even more miserable than it already was. She went. The confrontation in Helena's private sitting room was brutal and swift. "You stupid girl," her stepmother hissed the moment the door closed. "Do you have any idea what you're risking? That warrior, whoever he really is, showing that level of possessiveness over you, making a scene? I didn't. You will reject whatever bond you think you're forming with him." Helena's eyes were cold. "Immediately, or I'll ensure you're banished from this pack, cast out as a rogue, and we both know what happens to Omega rogues. Death, usually violent and quick." "You can't," Ilara whispered, but fear crawled up her spine. "I can. Marcus will support me. Vivian will testify that you've been trying to seduce visiting warriors, embarrassing the pack." Helena stepped closer, and Alara caught the scent of wolfsbane on her. Months of poisoning, right there in the woman who was supposed to be family. "You're nothing, Alara. You've always been nothing. Whatever that warrior sees in you is a mistake. And you'll correct it. And if I don't," Helena smiled, sharp and merciless, "then you'll disappear, permanently." It wasn't an empty threat. Alara could see it in her eyes. Genuine malice, backed by the power of her position as the pack Luna. She was trapped, between her poisonous family and her mysterious mate, between survival and the bond that was slowly driving her mad. And somewhere in the pack house, Demon Blackthorn, or Damon, or whoever he really was searching for a prophesied mate with a silver wolf bloodline. A mate who might be standing right in front of him, if only he knew the broken Omega his wolf had claimed was exactly who he'd been looking for all along. Wanting to see what would happen next? Subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 3. The library was Alara's refuge in the dead of night. She'd slipped from her room after midnight, unable to sleep with Helena's threats echoing in her mind, and the mate bond pulling at her like a physical ache. The confrontation in the gardens had been 2 days ago, and she hadn't seen Damon since. He'd sent word through Betty that he'd been called away on urgent business, but Alara felt his absence like a missing limb. Her wolf was becoming impossible to control, pacing and whining, demanding they find their mate. But how could she, when claiming him might mean her death? The library smelled of old paper and leather, moonlight streaming through tall windows. Alara ran her fingers along worn spines, searching for something, anything, that might help her understand what was happening to her. Can't sleep either? She spun around, heart jumping. An elderly woman sat in a high-backed chair near the fireplace. So still, Alara had missed her completely. She recognized her as Elder Mara, one of the oldest pack members, nearly 90 but still sharp as a blade. "I'm sorry," Alara stammered. "I didn't mean to disturb you." "You didn't." Mara's eyes, clouded with age but oddly knowing, studied her. "Come here, child. Let me see you properly." Something in her tone made it impossible to refuse. Alara approached slowly, stopping a few feet from the chair. Mara leaned forward, examining her with an intensity that made Alara's skin prickle. Silver hair, even in human form. Your mother was Lyanna Silvermoon, wasn't she? Shock rippled through her. No one ever spoke of her mother. Marcus had forbidden it. Yes. How did you know? Because I knew her. Mara's expression softened. I knew her bloodline, ancient and powerful, thought extinct after the Purge 200 years ago. The Silver Wolves of the Moon Court, the original Luna Queens who ruled beside the first Alpha Kings. Alara's legs felt weak. She sank onto a nearby ottoman, hardly daring to breathe. "I don't understand. My mother was just... She was nobody special, just a pack member who died young." "Is that what they told you?" Mara's laugh was bitter. "Child, your mother was hunted from the moment her wolf emerged. Silver wolves were feared for their power, their connection to the moon goddess herself. Most were killed during the Purge. Those who survived went into hiding, suppressing their true nature." "But I'm just an Omega," Alara whispered. "Are you?" Mara tilted her head. "Or have you been made to believe that through years of poison and abuse? Wolfsbane doesn't just weaken the body, girl. It suppresses the wolf, keeps it small and quiet, makes powerful bloodlines appear weak." The words hit like a physical blow. All those years of feeling inadequate, broken, less than. What if it had all been deliberate? What if her step-family had known what she was and poisoned her to hide it? "There's a prophecy," Mara continued, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper, "written in the old tongue by the first moon oracle. It speaks of a time when the Silver Wolf bloodline would return, marked by the moon goddess herself. The true mate of the Alpha King would bear the Silver Wolf mark and collapse at their first meeting, unable to withstand the intensity of a bond that could unite all packs under one rule." Ilara's hand flew to her left shoulder blade, where a small birthmark had always rested. She'd kept it hidden her entire life, embarrassed by its unusual silver coloring, a perfect crescent moon that seemed to shimmer in certain light. "You have it, don't you?" Mara's eyes gleamed. "The mark." Ilara's voice failed. The ceremony, collapsing when that scent hit her. Strong arms catching her, golden eyes staring down at her with wonder. "Mine. Oh, gods. The Alpha King," she breathed. "He's been searching for the prophesied mate. I heard the pack leaders talking about it. And now he's found her." Mara smiled, but it was tinged with worry. "The question is, what will you do about it?" Before Ilara could answer, footsteps echoed in the hallway, heavy, purposeful, and achingly familiar. Her wolf surged forward, recognition singing through every nerve. The library door opened. Damon stood in the doorway, still dressed in training clothes despite the late hour, his dark hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. But it was his eyes that captured her, those golden eyes that now blazed with barely contained emotion. "Ilara," he said, and just her name on his lips made her shiver. Then he noticed Mara. "Elder, forgive the intrusion." "No intrusion." Mara stood with surprising grace for her age. "I believe you two have much to discuss. And child." She paused by Ilara, placing a weathered hand on her shoulder. "Remember that prophecies are not chains. They are possibilities. What you choose to do with your power is up to you." Then she was gone, leaving Ilara alone with the man who was either her salvation or her destruction. Damon closed the door softly, leaning against it like he needed the support. "I've been looking everywhere for you. You left." The accusation came out sharper than she intended. 2 days without a word. "I had to." He moved toward her slowly, like approaching a spooked animal. "I had to verify something, had to be absolutely certain before I—" He stopped a few feet away, conflict clear in his expression. "I've been lying to you, Ilara. Not about how I feel, but about who I am." Her heart hammered. "I know." That surprised him. "You do? You're not just a warrior." She stood, facing him fully. "You're Alpha King Demon Blackthorn." The name hung between them, heavy with implication. He didn't deny it. Instead, something like relief crossed his features. "How long have you known?" "I suspected after the gardens. The way everyone deferred to you, the level of power you displayed. No ordinary warrior has that authority." She wrapped her arms around herself. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I needed to know you," he said simply. Not the Omega who'd been beaten down and poisoned, not the girl playing a role to survive. I needed to know the real Ilara, without my title influencing every interaction. He took a step closer, and I needed to identify who was trying to kill you before I claimed you publicly and made you an even bigger target. The protectiveness in his voice made her wolf keen, but anger still simmered beneath her fear and confusion. "You had no right to deceive me." "I know." Another step. "I'm sorry. But Ilara, the moment I caught you at that ceremony, the moment I scented you and felt the bond snap into place, His voice roughened. I knew. You're my mate. My true mate. And I would do anything, including lie about my identity, to keep you safe long enough to claim you properly. The bond between them pulsed, stronger now with the truth finally spoken. It pulled at Elara, made her want to close the distance between them and damn the consequences. The prophecy, she whispered. The Silver Wolf bloodline. That's what you've been searching for. His eyes widened slightly. Elder Mara told you. She told me my mother's bloodline was thought extinct, that there's a prophecy about the Alpha King's true mate being marked by the moon goddess. She turned, pulling down the collar of her shirt to expose her left shoulder blade. Is this what you've been looking for? She heard his sharp intake of breath, felt the heat of him as he moved closer. His fingers traced the crescent moon birthmark with devastating gentleness. A perfect silver crescent, he murmured, exactly as the prophecy described. His touch sent electricity skittering across her skin. The mate bond roared to life, no longer muted or distant. It slammed into them both with the force of a hurricane, complete, undeniable, and absolutely overwhelming. Elara gasped as power flooded through her, washing away the lingering weakness from the wolfsbane. Her wolf surged forward, stronger than she'd ever felt it, howling in triumph. Demon's arms came around her as her knees buckled, pulling her against his chest. Easy, little wolf. The bond's intensity, it's more than most can handle at first. Is this? She could barely form words, sensation cascading through her in waves. Is this what you felt at the ceremony? Worse, he admitted, his voice rough against her ear. Because I knew what you were the moment I scented you, and every instinct I had screamed to claim you right there. It took everything I had to leave you at that infirmary, instead of stealing you away to my territory where I could protect you. She pulled back enough to see his face, to see the raw honesty there. Why didn't you? Why wait? Because you deserve better than being claimed by a stranger, prophecy or not. His hand cupped her cheek. You deserve to know who I am, what claiming me would mean, and I needed to eliminate the threats to you first. My step-family. His expression darkened. I've had my people investigating. Helena has been purchasing wolfsbane for months through black market channels. Marcus knew about the poisoning. He encouraged it. They wanted to keep you weak, make you easy to control or dispose of. Rage bubbled up in Elara's chest, hot and vicious. They're still poisoning me. I caught Helena adding it to my food 2 nights ago. A low growl rumbled through Demon's chest, his wolf rising. Not anymore. Tonight everything changes. What do you mean? There's a pack gathering tonight. I called it while I was gone. All ranked members required to attend. His thumb brushed across her lips, making her breath catch. I'm going to publicly claim you as my mate and future Luna Queen. Terror and exhilaration warred in her chest. The pack elders won't accept it. An Omega as Luna Queen? They'll... You're not an Omega. He said it with absolute certainty. The wolfsbane suppressed your true nature, but the bond is burning it away now. Can't you feel it? Your wolf is stronger already. He was right. She could feel the difference. Her wolf was no longer small and quiet. It was growing, stretching, demanding to be free. When you shift, Demon continued, everyone will see what you truly are. The Silver Wolf of prophecy, my equal in every way. I've never shifted, she admitted quietly. The poison, I've never been strong enough. You're strong enough now. He pressed his forehead to hers. Trust me. Trust the bond. How could she not? Everything in her screamed that this man was hers, that she was meant to stand beside him. But fear still clawed at her. What if I can't control it? What if— I'll be right there. His voice held absolute conviction. I won't let anything happen to you. The pack gathering was held in the great hall, every ranked member of the Crescent Moon Pack assembled. Ilara stood in the shadows near the servants' entrance, watching as Demon, fully revealed as Alpha King Blackthorn now, commanded the room with effortless authority. He wore formal attire that spoke of his status. Black suit, tailored perfectly to his powerful frame, a silver wolf head pin marking him as the Alpha King. He looked every inch the ruler, terrifying and magnetic. Marcus and Helena stood near the front, Vivian beside them in a dress clearly chosen to catch attention. Her stepsister kept shooting glances at Demon, hunger and calculation in her eyes. "We are here," Demon announced, his voice carrying easily, "because I have found what I came searching for. My true mate, marked by the moon goddess herself, has been revealed." Excited whispers rippled through the crowd. Vivian straightened, a smile curving her lips. Then Demon's eyes found Ilara in the shadows. "Come here, little wolf." The endearment, spoken publicly in front of everyone, made her step-family's faces go white. Whispers turned to shocked murmurs as Ilara stepped forward, every eye tracking her movement. "No," Helena hissed, but no one was listening to her anymore. Ilara crossed the hall on shaking legs, acutely aware of how she must look. Underfed, too thin, dressed in servant's clothes while Vivian sparkled like a jewel. But Demon's eyes held only pride and possessiveness as she reached him. He took her hand, pulling her close to his side. "This is Ilara Silvermoon, last of the Silver Wolf bloodline, bearer of the moon goddess's mark, my true mate, your future Luna Queen." The hall erupted. "She's an Omega," one of the Betas shouted. "This is madness," another elder called. "The Luna Queen cannot be." "Cannot be what?" Demon's voice cracked like a whip, silencing everyone. "Cannot be the exact mate the prophecy foretold. Cannot be the woman the moon goddess herself marked for me." His power rolled out, making every wolf present instinctively lower their eyes. "I am Alpha King. I bow to no one's approval in choosing my mate." "But Alpha King," Marcus stepped forward, his expression desperate. "Surely there's been a mistake. My stepdaughter is weak, sickly, hardly fit to be Luna Queen. If you desire a mate from our pack, my daughter Vivian is strong, healthy." "Vivian doesn't bear the mark." Demon's tone could have cut glass. "She isn't my mate. And regarding Ilara's supposed weakness, we'll address that now." He turned to Ilara, speaking softly enough that only she could hear. "Let your wolf out, little wolf. Show them what you really are." Terror gripped her. "I don't know how." "Yes, you do. The poison is gone. The bond is strong. Just let go." His certainty anchored her. Ilara closed her eyes, reaching for her wolf the way she'd tried countless times before, always meeting that wall of weakness. The wall was gone. Her wolf surged forward with a power that stole her breath. The shift that had always been impossible came naturally, bones reforming, body reshaping. There was pain, but also exhilaration as she felt herself become more than she'd ever been. When it was done, she stood on 4 legs in the center of the hall. Gasps echoed around her. Someone whispered, "Moon Goddess, preserve us." Because Ilara wasn't small, wasn't the pathetic Omega Wolf she'd been told she would be. She was massive, nearly as large as an alpha male, with a coat the color of moonlight itself. Silver fur rippled with each breath, seeming to glow with an inner light. Power radiated from her, ancient and undeniable, the silver wolf of prophecy finally revealed. Demon's hand stroked through her fur, pride and possessiveness clear in every line of his body. Still think she's unfit to be Luna Queen?" Silence. Then Elder Mara's voice rang out. "The prophecy is fulfilled. The Silver Wolf has returned." But before anyone could respond, the hall doors burst open. A warrior Elara didn't recognize strode in, flanked by guards bearing a different pack's insignia. His voice carried clear authority as he addressed Demon. "Alpha King Blackthorn, I bring urgent message from Alpha Cade Silverclaw of the Northern Ridge Pack." He produced a scroll, sealed with wax and blood. "He demands you honor the blood pact made between your father and his 25 years ago, a betrothal agreement binding you to his daughter Seraphina upon your ascension to Alpha King." The words fell like stones into still water. Elara's wolf, still new and powerful and barely under her control, felt rage surge through her. "Mine," something primal snarled. "Our mate." Demon's jaw clenched, fury flashing in his eyes. "That pact is void. With respect, Alpha King, a blood pact cannot be voided." It was witnessed by the moon goddess herself. The messenger's expression held sympathy, but also determination. "Alpha Cade's daughter, Seraphina, is traveling here now to formalize the claim. She'll arrive within 3 days." "This is perfect." Helena's voice cut through the tension. "You see, the Alpha King already has a mate promised to him. My stepdaughter's unfortunate shift changes nothing." But it changed everything. Elara felt her new wolf straining against her control, possessive and powerful and unwilling to share. The bond between her and Demon pulsed with intensity that threatened to overwhelm her. She tried to shift back, to regain her human form and some semblance of control. Nothing happened. She was trapped in wolf form, her human consciousness aware, but unable to bridge back. Power churned inside her. Too much and too wild, the legacy of her bloodline combined with the mate bond, creating something she didn't know how to control. Her wolf threw back its head and howled, a sound of rage and claim and challenge that echoed through the hall and beyond, carrying on the wind to every pack within hearing distance. The Silver Wolf had risen, but she was lost in the power, unable to shift back, while a rival claimed her mate was already promised to another. And somewhere in the distance, Seraphina Silverclaw was coming to collect what she believed was rightfully hers. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The Royal Pack's territory was nothing like the Crescent Moon Pack house. It was a fortress carved into the northern mountains themselves, stone and steel and ancient power, built to withstand sieges and centuries. As Demon's convoy pulled through the massive gates, Elara felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, watching from windows and battlements. She was still in wolf form, unable to shift back despite 3 days of trying. Demon had wrapped her in furs and carried her himself when exhaustion finally claimed her, refusing to let anyone else touch his mate. But she could feel the questions, the doubt, radiating from his guards and council members. The prophesied Luna Queen, trapped in her wolf form like a feral creature. Not exactly an auspicious beginning. They'd left the Crescent Moon Pack in chaos, Marcus and Helena under guard, accused of poisoning pack members. Vivian had thrown a spectacular tantrum when Demon had coldly informed her she'd never been a consideration. Elder Mara had pulled Elara aside before they left, pressing something into her fur-covered paw. "When you can shift back," the old woman had whispered, "open this. It belonged to your mother." Now as Demon carried her through corridors lined with warriors who watched with skepticism or outright hostility, Ilara wished desperately she could speak, could defend herself, could be anything other than this massive silver wolf who couldn't even control her own form. They reached a suite of rooms, his private quarters, she realized. Demon set her gently on a raised bed, piled with furs and pillows, his hand stroking through her silver coat. "I know you're in there, little wolf," he murmured. "I can feel you through the bond. We'll figure this out." She wanted to respond, to tell him she was terrified and overwhelmed. Instead, she could only press her muzzle against his hand. A knock at the door made Demon's expression harden. "Enter." A massive man strode in, easily as tall as Demon, but broader, with scarred hands and cold gray eyes. His aura screamed Beta, second in command, and he looked at Ilara with barely disguised contempt. "Alpha King," he said, the title formal and stiff. "The council demands an audience." "They can wait, Marcus." Demon's tone held warning. "With respect, they cannot." The Beta's jaw clenched. "The Blood Pact, with the Silverclaw Pack, is being contested. Alpha Cade's daughter arrives tomorrow with an army at her back. If you don't address the council now, I said they can wait." Power rolled off Demon in waves. "My mate needs." "Your supposed mate can't even shift back to human form." Marcus's words were brutal. "The council sees weakness. The pack sees instability. You bring home a woman who claims to be the prophesied Luna Queen, but acts like a rabid animal." Ilara's wolf snarled, lunging off the bed toward the Beta. Only Demon's arm around her chest stopped her, his strength the one thing that could hold her back. "Careful, Marcus," Demon said softly, dangerously. "That's my mate you're insulting, and her wolf may be new and wild, but she's far from weak." Marcus backed toward the door, but his expression remained hard. "The council convenes in 1 hour. With or without you." He left, the door closing with finality. Demon turned back to Ilara, and she saw the conflict in his golden eyes, the pull between duty and devotion, between his responsibilities as Alpha King and his need to protect his mate. "I have to go," he said quietly, "but I'll have food sent up. And Ilara." He pressed his forehead to hers, the gesture achingly tender. "I won't let them take you from me. No matter what the council says, no matter what blood pact my father signed, you're mine." The bond flared between them, warm and certain, but as he left, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that promises weren't enough. Not here, not in this world of politics and power, where a Luna Queen who couldn't shift back was seen as nothing but a liability. Hours passed. Servants came and went, bringing food she couldn't eat in wolf form and speaking to her like she was an animal, rather than a person trapped in fur. The sun set beyond the massive windows, and still Demon didn't return. Ilara paced the suite, her new body restless and powerful, but frustratingly beyond her control. She could feel her human mind clearly, could think and reason, but the bridge between forms remained closed. "Let me help you, child." The voice whispered through her mind, not her wolf, but something else. Someone else. Ilara froze, ears swiveling. A figure materialized from the shadows near the fireplace. An old man, ancient by wolf standards, with silver hair that matched her fur, and eyes that held centuries of sorrow and strength. He moved with a warrior's grace despite his age, and power radiated from him in subtle waves. "Don't be afraid," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because you're family." Family. The word was foreign and precious all at once. The old man knelt before her, meeting her wolf's eyes without fear. Your mother was my daughter, Lyanna Silvermoon, last of my bloodline, or so I thought until I felt your shift 3 days ago. The Silver Wolf's power resonating across the territories like a bell, announcing the return of what was thought lost. Ilara's heart, if wolves had hearts that could race, thundered in her chest. I am Aldrich Silvermoon, he continued, former Alpha King, overthrown 40 years ago when the Council decided the Silver Bloodline was too dangerous to lead. They hunted my family, killed my mate, scattered my children. Your mother survived by hiding what she was, suppressing her wolf with wolfsbane until she was weak enough to pass as a common pack member. The poisoning. It all made horrifying sense now. Her mother hadn't been weak. She'd been hiding, sacrificing her power to survive. And now you're trapped, Aldrich said gently. Your wolf emerged too fast, fed by the mate bond and years of suppressed power. She doesn't want to give up control because she finally has it. Yes, her wolf seemed to whisper, strong now, safe in this form. But you need to be human too, Aldrich continued. You need to speak, to defend yourself, to rule as Luna Queen. Let me teach you to balance both sides of yourself, to harness the power instead of being overwhelmed by it. Trust. It came down to trust. And looking into this old man's eyes, her grandfather's eyes, Ilara felt something settle in her chest. She shifted her weight forward, pressing her muzzle to his weathered hand. Aldrich smiled, and it transformed his severe face. Good. Then we begin tonight. But first, he produced a small leather pouch from his coat. Elder Mara sent this, said it belonged to your mother. He opened Ilara's jaws gently, a move that should have been dangerous but felt natural, and tucked something under her tongue. A pendant on a silver chain, carved with symbols she didn't recognize. Power flooded through her, warm and ancient and undeniably maternal. The pendant glowed against her tongue, and suddenly the bridge between forms was there, visible and crossable. Ilara reached for it desperately, and the shift came like breaking through water's surface. Bones reformed, fur receded, and she was kneeling on the stone floor in human form, gasping for air. Naked. She realized belatedly, but Aldrich had already draped a fur around her shoulders, his back politely turned. Your mother's talisman, he explained, made to help control the shift when the power becomes too much. Wear it always. Ilara's hands shook as she fastened the chain around her neck, feeling the pendant settle between her breasts. Her voice, when it came, was rusty from disuse. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Aldrich turned back, and his expression was grave. Seraphina Silverclaw arrives tomorrow with an army. She'll challenge you for the position of Luna Queen. It's her right under pack law. You cannot refuse without dishonor. A dominance fight. Ilara's stomach clenched. I've never fought before. Not really. Then we have one night to teach you enough to survive. He moved toward the door, gesturing for her to follow. Get dressed. We have work to do. The training grounds were empty at midnight, lit only by torches and moonlight. Aldrich moved through the space like he owned it, which, Ilara supposed, he once had. Your wolf is powerful, he said, circling her. Larger than most alphas, faster than any beta, but Seraphina has been training her entire life for moments like this. She's cunning, experienced, and she'll use your inexperience against you. Then how do I win? You don't fight her way. You fight like a silver wolf. He demonstrated a move, graceful and brutal, using momentum instead of pure strength. Our bloodline wasn't just powerful because of size. We had something else. a connection to the moon itself, to the ancient magic that created our kind. For hours, he pushed her through forms and techniques that felt both foreign and oddly familiar. Her body remembered things her mind had never learned, muscle memory passed down through bloodlines. "Your mother?" Ilara gasped during a break. How did she really die? Aldrich's expression shuddered. "Murdered. 5 years ago, shortly after your first heat, when you would have been old enough to shift. Someone in the Royal Pack discovered what she was, what you were. They killed her to prevent the silver bloodline from rising again." Horror and rage warred in Ilara's chest. "Who? I don't know yet. But whoever killed Lyanna is here, in this fortress, and they'll try to kill you too." He met her eyes. "Someone poisoned you at the Crescent Moon Pack to keep you weak. But the threat didn't end there. It followed you here." As if summoning a demon, approaching footsteps made them both tense. Demon emerged from the shadows, his expression stormy. "You should be resting," he said to Ilara, though his eyes tracked to Aldrich with suspicion. "And you shouldn't be here. The Council banished you decades ago." "The Council can hang," Aldrich replied evenly. "My granddaughter needs training, and you're too busy playing politics to give it to her." "Granddaughter?" Demon's gaze snapped between them. "Aldrich Silvermoon," the old man introduced himself. "Former Alpha King, current pain in your council's collective ass, and Ilara's only living family." The tension between them was palpable, two powerful alphas sizing each other up. But Demon's attention quickly returned to Ilara, his eyes darkening as he took in her training clothes and the slight trembling in her limbs. "How long have you been out here?" "Hours," Aldrich answered for her. "She'll train all night if that's what it takes to survive tomorrow, unless you have a better plan." Demon's jaw clenched. "The Council won't budge on the Blood Pact. They say if I reject Seraphina, Alpha Cade will declare war. The Northern Ridge Pack has alliances with 4 other territories. We'd be looking at a conflict that could tear the region apart." "So you're considering it," Ilara said, and hated how small her voice sounded. "Honoring the betrothal." "No." The word was fierce, absolute. "I'm telling you what I'm up against, what we're up against." He crossed to her, cupping her face in his hands. "You are my mate. The bond is complete. Nothing and no one will separate us. Even if it means war, even then." His thumb brushed her lips. "But there's another way. If you defeat Seraphina in honorable combat, prove yourself as the stronger Luna Queen candidate, the Blood Pact becomes void. Victory in dominance combat supersedes all prior agreements. So all I have to do is beat a trained warrior in front of the entire Royal Pack." Ilara laughed, but it sounded broken. "No pressure. You can do this," Demon said with absolute certainty. "I've felt your power, little wolf. You're stronger than you know." She wanted to believe him, but fear curled cold in her stomach. The formal dinner was Demon's attempt to ease tensions before Seraphina's arrival. The great hall filled with council members, ranked warriors, and visiting dignitaries, all gathered to see the Alpha King and his controversial mate. Ilara wore a gown Demon had commissioned, silver silk that complemented her unusual coloring. The pendant from her mother hung at her throat, warm against her skin. She felt like an imposter playing dress-up, but Demon's hand at her back steadied her as they entered. The whispers started immediately. "She's too thin, barely out of Omega status. The prophecy must have been misinterpreted." Demon's beta, Marcus, stood near the high table with several council members. His expression made it clear what he thought of her presence. The dinner began with formal toasts. Demon's speech was politically perfect, acknowledging the council's concerns while making his position clear. When he introduced Elara as his mate and future Luna Queen, the applause was polite, but strained. Food was served, elaborate courses meant to impress and intimidate. Elara picked at her plate, too nervous to eat. Halfway through the main course, wrongness crept over her, a familiar burning in her throat, spreading through her chest. No, not again. The pendant at her throat grew hot, almost scalding. Her wolf surged forward with a snarl of warning, but it was too late. Whatever she'd ingested was already in her system. Elara's visions swam. The glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against the stone floor. "Elara?" Demon's voice, sharp with alarm. She tried to answer, but her throat had closed. Her wolf thrashed inside her, trying to shift, trying to burn out the poison with transformation. But this wasn't Wolf's Bane. This was something worse. She collapsed, dimly aware of Demon catching her, of shouting erupting around them. Through the haze of pain, she heard Aldrich's voice. "Nightshade. Mixed with Wolfsbane and silver powder. That's an assassin's blend." Demon's roar shook the hall. Power exploded from him. Alpha command so strong it drove every wolf to their knees. Through her fading consciousness, Elara felt his fury, his terror, transmitted through the mate bond. Who did this? His voice wasn't human anymore, layered with his wolf. Who poisoned my mate? Silence. Then Marcus's voice, strained. "Alpha King, you need to calm." Calm? Demon's shift was instantaneous and terrifying. His wolf was massive, black as midnight with eyes that burned gold. He lunged toward the council table, pure, lethal intent. No, something in Elara whispered. He'll kill them, start a war within his own pack. She reached through the bond, finding the golden thread that connected them. With the last of her strength, she pulled on it, sending everything she had toward him. Trust, love, need. "I'm here," she tried to communicate. "Don't leave me. Stay." Demon's wolf froze mid-lunge, head swinging toward her. The rage in his eyes softened to anguish as he bounded back to her side, shifting back to human form and pulling her into his arms. "Don't you dare," he whispered fiercely. "Don't you dare leave me, Elara. We just found each other." Aldrich was there with a vial, forcing bitter liquid between her lips. "Drink. It'll counteract the worst of it." The antidote burned going down, but it cleared the fog in her mind. Elara clung to Demon, feeling his heart racing against her cheek. "Someone in this room," Demon said, his voice deadly calm now, "just tried to murder the Luna Queen. You have until dawn to confess. After that, I start executing council members one by one until the culprit reveals themselves." The threat hung heavy in the air, but Elara's attention caught on something else. A memory surfacing through the pain. The servant who'd poured her wine, young, nervous, with a familiar crest on her uniform, the Silver Claw pack crest. Seraphina had already arrived, and she'd brought her own assassins. 3 days later, Elara stood in Aldrich's secret training room, her body still recovering, but her resolve hardened by fury. "Again," Aldrich commanded, and she shifted, smooth now, controlled, the bridge between forms as natural as breathing. Her silver wolf shook out its fur, and she felt the power humming beneath her skin. The poison had been purged, the training had honed her instincts, and she'd learned something crucial about her bloodline. Silver wolves weren't just powerful. They were weapons forged by the moon goddess herself, designed to lead and protect. "You're ready," Aldrich said, pride clear in his ancient eyes. But Elara wasn't sure. because this morning she'd woken to devastating news that changed everything. Dr. Miriam had been summoned in secret, confirming what Ilara's wolf had been trying to tell her for days. She was pregnant, barely a few weeks along, but unmistakable. Demon's heir already growing inside her. Tomorrow she would face Serafina in combat, a fight that could kill her, could end the life of the child she carried, could shatter the fragile hope of the future she and Demon were building. The throne of thorns awaited, and Ilara Silvermoon had no choice but to claim it or die trying. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The arena was carved from ancient stone, a colosseum that had witnessed dominance challenges for centuries. Every wolf in the kingdom, it seemed, had gathered to watch, packed into the stands, pressed against balconies, filling every available space with bodies and judgment. Ilara stood in the center of the blood-stained sand, her human form small and unremarkable compared to the woman across from her. Serafina Silverclaw was everything Ilara wasn't. Tall, powerfully built, her auburn hair braided for battle, and her green eyes cold with certainty. She'd been bred for this, trained since childhood to be a Luna Queen. Her wolf had won dozens of dominance challenges, and she was looking at Ilara like she was already dead. "This is your last chance to withdraw," Serafina called, her voice carrying across the arena. "Submit now, and I'll let you leave with your dignity intact." Ilara's hand moved unconsciously to her stomach, where new life had taken root. The secret sat heavy in her chest. Only she and Dr. Miriam knew. She couldn't tell Demon, couldn't let anyone think she was using the pregnancy to manipulate the situation. This fight had to be won on her own merit, or she'd never truly be accepted as Luna Queen, even if it meant risking everything. "I don't submit," Ilara said quietly, but her voice somehow carried. Not anymore. From his place in the royal box, Demon's eyes burned into her. She could feel his fear and pride warring through the mate bond, his wolf desperate to interfere, but held back by honor and law. This was her fight, her chance to prove herself, or die trying. The horn sounded. Serafina shifted instantly. Her wolf was massive and battle-scarred, rust-colored, and vicious. She charged with the speed of experience, going straight for Ilara's throat. Ilara shifted just in time, her silver wolf emerging in a cascade of moonlight. But Serafina was already there, teeth finding purchase in her shoulder, shaking violently. Pain exploded through her. Her blood, stained the silver fur black. The crowd roared. Somewhere Demon was on his feet, the mate bond screaming with his barely contained rage. Ilara twisted, breaking Serafina's grip, but losing a chunk of fur and flesh in the process. She was faster, but Serafina was stronger, more experienced. Every move Ilara made, Serafina countered with brutal efficiency, a slash across her ribs, teeth in her leg, claws raking down her side. This is what real fighting looks like, Serafina's wolf seemed to say with each vicious attack. "This is why you'll never be Luna Queen." Ilara's vision blurred with pain and blood loss. She was losing, badly. The Silver Wolf's power wasn't enough against a lifetime of training. Through the haze, she heard Aldrich's voice, not from the stands, but inside her mind, ancient and certain. "You're fighting her way. Stop. I don't know how else. You're not just a Silver Wolf, child. You're the Silver Wolf, the first in generations. Your mother hid what she was, died before she could teach you. But I remember. I remember what we are." Serafina lunged again. going for her throat. Ilara barely dodged, stumbling in the sand. The silver bloodline doesn't rule through physical dominance alone. Aldrich's voice continued. We rule through command, the ability to bend other wolves to our will, to make them submit without ever drawing blood. It's why they feared us, why they hunted us. We didn't just lead, we controlled. The revelation crashed through her like lightning. She'd felt hints of it, the way her wolf had wanted to command, to dominate. But she'd thought it was just instinct. It was so much more. Serafina charged again, certain of victory. But this time, Ilara didn't dodge. She stood her ground, and she reached deep inside herself for the power that had been sleeping there all along. The power of her bloodline, awakened fully by the mate bond and desperation and the life growing inside her that she would die to protect. When she opened her jaws, what emerged wasn't a growl. It was a command that resonated with ancient power, layered with the authority of Luna Queens who'd ruled when the moon was young. Submit. The word, if it could be called that, slammed into Serafina like a physical force. The auburn wolf's charge faltered. Her legs trembled. Against her will, against every instinct screaming to fight, Serafina's wolf began to lower. First her head, then her shoulders, then her entire body, until she was pressed belly down in the sand, throat exposed in the ultimate gesture of submission. The arena fell silent. Ilara stood over her fallen opponent, silver fur gleaming in the sunlight, blood dripping from her wounds, but power radiating from every line of her body. This is what a true Luna looks like, her wolf seemed to say to every watching soul. Serafina shifted back to human form, naked and humiliated in the sand. I yield, she gasped. I recognize your claim. The words were ritual, binding. The challenge was over, and Ilara had won without killing, without excessive violence, through sheer, undeniable dominance of will. The prophecy's words echoed in her mind. A Luna who would unite the packs under silver moonlight, not through violence, through command, through power so absolute that other wolves had no choice but to follow. The crowd erupted, shock, awe, fear, all mixed together. But Ilara's eyes found only Demon, whose expression held wonder and possessive pride and something that looked like worship. Mine. The bond pulsed between them. My queen. The aftermath was chaos, contained by ceremony. Serafina's pack withdrew their claim immediately, their alphacade kneeling before Ilara in a gesture that shocked the gathered wolves. We recognize the superior bloodline, he declared. The blood pact is void. The prophecy is fulfilled. But Ilara wasn't done. The power that had awakened during the challenge still hummed beneath her skin, ancient and knowing, and there were truths that needed to be spoken, justice that needed to be served. She stood before the Royal Pack's council in the Great Hall, still in her torn training clothes, blood drying on her skin. Demon was at her side, his presence a wall of support. Someone in this room, Ilara said, her voice carrying the echo of command that made every wolf present straighten. Murdered my mother. Someone here has been trying to kill me since I arrived, and I'm done pretending I don't know why. Aldrich stepped forward from the shadows where he'd been watching. The silver bloodline was eliminated through systematic assassination 40 years ago. Every member of my family hunted down and killed. I survived only because I was imprisoned rather than executed. They wanted to parade the fallen Alpha King as a warning. But my daughter Lyanna survived, he continued, his ancient eyes sweeping the council. She hid, suppressed her wolf, lived as a nobody, until 5 years ago, when someone discovered what she was, what her daughter would be. Ilara felt the power building in her chest again, different from before. Not just command, but compulsion, the ability to draw truth from lies, to make wolves speak against their will. It was dangerous, potentially tyrannical, but right now, she needed it. Her eyes landed on a figure at the back of the council, Demon's uncle, Magnus Blackthorn. He'd been quiet throughout the challenge, but his scent carried something that made her wolf growl, fear and guilt. "Uncle," Demon said slowly, following her gaze. "You're sweating." Magnus stood, attempting composure. The challenge was intense. We're all affected. "Tell the truth," Ilara commanded, and the power rolled out of her like a tidal wave. Magnus's mouth opened against his will. Words spilled out in a horrified rush. "I killed her. I killed Lyanna Silvermoon 5 years ago when my spies discovered what she was. I couldn't let the Silver bloodline return. It would threaten everything." Gasps rippled through the hall. Demon went absolutely still, the kind of stillness that preceded violence. "Keep talking," Ilara said, her voice iron-wrapped in silk. "The prophecy said a silver wolf would rise and unite the packs under a power greater than any Alpha King." Magnus continued, unable to stop. "I couldn't let that happen. I wanted the throne. I poisoned your father. This directed at Daman, slowly, over years, while everyone thought it was just illness. I made the blood pact with the Silverclaw pack to ensure you'd be bound to Seraphina, preventing you from ever finding your true mate." Demon's shift was instant and violent, his black wolf lunging for Magnus with murderous intent. "Wait," Ilara commanded, and Demon's wolf froze mid-leap, pulled back by the power in her voice, not controlling him. She'd never do that, but asking, pleading. "Let me finish this." He shifted back, trembling with rage, but nodded. "You've been behind all the poisoning," Ilara continued, her eyes locked on Magnus. "From the beginning." "Yes," he hissed, hating every word but unable to stop. "I paid Helena Thorne to poison you from childhood, to keep the Silver Wolf dormant. When that failed and you came here, I tried to finish it myself. The Nightshade at dinner, the Wolfsbane in your quarters, all of it. And you would have killed her," Aldrich said, his voice ancient and terrible, "just like you killed my daughter." Magnus said nothing, but the truth was written on his face. The hall erupted in outrage. Demon's Beta Marcus looked stricken, having defended Magnus for years. The council members who'd supported the uncle's political positions backed away, distancing themselves. "By the laws of this pack," Demon said, and his voice was the Alpha King's now, absolute and final. "Magnus Blackthorn, you are guilty of treason, regicide, and the murder of a Luna Queen's bloodline. The sentence is death." Magnus's eyes went wide. "Demon, please. You killed my father." Demon's words were carved from ice. "You tried to kill my mate. You betrayed everything our family stands for." He shifted partially, just enough for his claws to extend. "And I will be the one to carry out your sentence." It was brutal and swift. Justice delivered by an Alpha King to a traitor. When it was done, Demon stood in the center of the hall, his uncle's blood on his hands, grief and rage and righteousness warring in his expression. Ilara went to him, taking his bloodied hands in hers. Through the bond, she sent everything she had: comfort, support, love. "It's over," she whispered. "The threat is gone." But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't entirely true. There would always be threats, always be those who feared the Silver Wolf's power, but they would face them together. That night, in the privacy of their quarters. Ilara finally told him. "I'm pregnant," she said simply, watching his face. "About 3 weeks along. I didn't tell you before the challenge because I needed to win on my own merit, not because people thought I was using a child to manipulate the situation." Demon's expression went through several emotions in rapid succession: shock, joy, fear, and finally settling on fierce protectiveness. "You fought while carrying our child." His voice was strangled. "You could have been killed. Both of you could have." "I know." She took his hands, placing them on her still flat stomach. "But if I'd told you, you never would have let me fight. And I needed to do this, Demon, for myself, for our future, to prove that I can be what this pack needs." His hands trembled against her skin. "You're everything this pack needs, everything I need." He pulled her close, careful of her healing wounds. "A child, our child, an heir to 2 ancient bloodlines." "Are you happy?" she asked softly. "Happy doesn't begin to cover it." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "Terrified, elated, overwhelmed, but mostly grateful that you're alive, that we survived, that we get to build this future together." They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other and the bond that connected them, feeling the tiny spark of new life between them. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight they had this. The coronation was held under the full moon, as tradition demanded. Ilara knelt before Demon in the ancient courtyard, surrounded by every ranked wolf in the kingdom. She wore silver silk that seemed to glow in the moonlight, her mother's pendant at her throat, and Aldrich standing behind her as witness to the silver bloodline's return. "Do you swear to protect this pack and all packs under our rule?" Demon asked, the ceremonial words heavy with meaning. "I swear," Ilara answered, her voice steady. "Do you swear to lead with wisdom and strength, to be the Luna Queen this kingdom needs?" "I swear." "Then rise, Ilara Silvermoon Blackthorn, Luna Queen of the Northern Territories, bearer of the Silver Wolf, and my mate, eternal." She stood, and Demon placed the Luna's crown on her head, wrought silver shaped like a crescent moon, embedded with moonstones that caught the light. The crowd erupted in howls of acceptance. Even those who doubted her couldn't deny what she was now. A true Luna Queen, powerful and proven. But as Ilara turned to face her new kingdom, something strange happened. Her eyes, usually silver blue in human form, flashed a different color, red, deep crimson, like blood under moonlight. It was gone in an instant, quick enough that most missed it. But Aldrich saw. His expression went from pride to shocked recognition. "Impossible," she heard him whisper through their familial bond. The Crimson Wolf gene died out centuries ago. The Crimson Wolf. Ilara had read about them in the ancient texts, the rarest bloodline, even more so than silver. Wolves who could not only command but control, who wielded power that bordered on magic. They were thought to be myth, legend, exaggeration, but the flash of red in her eyes said otherwise. She carried both bloodlines, silver and crimson, the most powerful combination in history. And as that realization settled, a commotion erupted at the courtyard entrance. A messenger, bloody and exhausted, stumbled through the gates. "Message for the Luna Queen," he gasped. "From the Shadow Territories. The Shadow Territories. The lawless lands beyond the kingdom's borders, where rogues and exiles gathered. No official pack had claimed that territory in generations." Demon took the sealed envelope from the messenger, but Ilara felt dread crawl up her spine as he opened it. His expression went cold as he read. When he looked at her, his eyes held a mixture of fury and disbelief. "What is it?" she asked. He handed her the letter silently. The words were written in elegant script, almost mocking in their formality. "To Luna Queen, Elara Silvermoon Blackthorn, congratulations on your coronation. It seems you've accomplished much in your short time in power, but you've accomplished it with incomplete information. You were not your mother's only child. She bore twins, a secret kept even from your stepfather. While you were left with the Crescent Moon Pack, your sister was taken at birth and brought to us, raised in the shadows, trained as an assassin. Her name is Sarah, and she's been sent to kill you. Consider this a courtesy warning. After all, it's only fair that a queen knows when death is coming for her. We'll be watching." The Shadow Council. The letter fell from Elara's nerveless fingers. A twin sister, alive, raised as an assassin, coming to kill her. Around them the celebration continued, wolves howling their acceptance of their new Luna Queen. But Elara felt the world tilt, her new crown suddenly heavy with more than just responsibility. She'd won her throne, claimed her mate, defeated her enemies. But the greatest threat was still coming, and she wore her sister's face. Demon's arms came around her, solid and certain. "We'll face this together," he murmured. "Whatever comes, we'll survive it." Elara leaned into him, feeling their child safe between them, feeling the power of two ancient bloodlines humming in her veins. She was Luna Queen now, powerful beyond measure, protected by the strongest Alpha King in generations. But as the moon rose higher and the celebration reached its peak, she couldn't shake the image that haunted her. A mirror image of herself, trained to kill, sent by shadows to destroy everything she'd fought to build. The game wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like, and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily, and also to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.